Hello there, and welcome to a new Nice the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV and whatever I want for about an hour once a week. And I should apologise off the bat that I didn't do a podcast last week. I was feeling quite a bit under the weather, and also I had a lot of essay and uni work to do. And luckily, all my essays are in now, so I'm a bit more calmer and a bit more happier because I got some time off after a very stress period of doing all that uni work. But also, I wasn't feeling that well last week though. That was kind of the main reason I didn't do a podcast, because I had a bit of flu. I didn't have the complete flu, if you will. You know, I wasn't lying on my bed and I couldn't be able to move or anything like that. I didn't have the flu. But at the same time, though, I was feeling very much in the weather. And I did have a podcast planned. I had a podcast planned where I was going to talk about the current state of the DC universe and what James Gunn is doing. Now he is co-CEO of the DC universe, and there's a lot of, firings taking place and movies being cancelled. But because I didn't feel well, I decided not to do it. And also, just be another hour of me complaining about comic book movies and stuff like that. And does anyone really want to hear on this channel? I don't know anymore. Because I've done that a lot. I've complained about comic book movies a lot on this channel ever since I started doing this YouTube channel. But still, I'm back now, and I'm in this podcast today. I'm about 5 days late, but I'm doing my review of the White Lotus Season 2. And also, I'm doing my review of the new big Christmas movie out. Not really a Christmas film though. I should rephrase actually then. The new big blockbuster movie out this Christmas in Avatar: The Way of Water. But just before I get into those reviews today, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, that if you are listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there for podcast listeners, then you can also watch the podcast on my YouTube channel at Night at the Movies on that platform. And if you are watching this on YouTube, hello there to my viewers. But heck, you doesn't have the time to watch the full podcast on YouTube, then you can also listen to it at full on Spotify. And also, wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, please feel free to leave some feedback on what I can improve on. Maybe want more special guests on these podcasts, maybe you don't, maybe you just prefer just me. Or if you've got some ideas or things that we talk about in the next future on this podcast. I'm not guaranteeing I'll get to them before Christmas, because I'll probably have a break on this channel between now and Christmas, which I'll talk about very briefly in a sec, by the way. But at the same time though, please give me some feedback on what I can do on this channel and what I can do on these podcasts in the near distant future. And also, yeah, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy it as well. And like I just briefly mentioned, yeah, now that I've got a bit more free time, I'm probably going to be doing some more, sort of Christmas film reviews on this channel, on the YouTube channel if you listen to it on Spotify. But, and also I'm going to be doing some more podcasts, hopefully at least one more podcast before Christmas. And so I should hopefully have at least 2 Christmas film reviews up before the 25th, hopefully. I was planning to do more this December, but time just got away from me and I'm in my 3rd year of uni, so there you go. It was just a very stressful period this December so far. But now I've got a bit more free time, I will try and get at least two Christmas film reviews out. And also I'm planning to do another podcast before the 25th. And maybe might do something else. I'm kind of planning it in my head, but we'll see what happens with that. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm not going to make any promises I can't keep. But there might be a nice sort of surprise video coming around the Christmas period as well. But I'll probably have a break over Christmas from the 25th to, I don't know, a couple of days after New Year. I usually do that on this channel. So even though I haven't been uploading that much over this past month, I'm going to be uploading a bit more over the next week or so, or maybe just under a week now. Or maybe just over a week actually. Christmas Day is next Sunday. I'm recording this currently on Saturday, and I think it's going to go out on Sunday, so actually in about a week's time. So yeah, I'm going to be having some, sort of videos and podcasts up in the next week or so, but then once Christmas Day comes, I'm probably going to have a bit of a break, but that's what I usually do anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know what's happening on the channel in the next couple of days / weeks. But, like I said already, I'm feeling much better today. I don't know if anyone wanted to know. I'm feeling much better. I don't feel like I have the flu anymore like I did a bit before. And I have had the flu in the past. And that was quite something. But no need to know that. Yeah, but no need to know that. So, yeah, I'm feeling much better today. And hopefully this podcast is going to go well. I should apologise as well if you're watching on YouTube. it might be quite dark lighting in my bedroom when I'm recording this. That's because it's currently snowing outside. How Christmassy is that? It's currently snowing outside and I'm meant to be doing something today, so hopefully the roads clear up because I kind of live in the middle of nowhere in a house, so I'm not sure I'll be able to get anywhere. But yeah, it's snowing outside, so how Christmassy, but it also means that there's barely any light going into this room, even so I've got all my curtains open. But hey ho, ho ho, should I say, ho ho. And also I have a Christmas t-shirt on, by the way. Yes, I've got Wallace and Gromit, who are all dressed up Christmassy, on my t-shirt. If you're watching on YouTube, hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it's not cut by this table, such as the movie. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see it. That's not talking about what. Hopefully you guys can see my Christmas t-shirt. Maybe I've just done that all for nothing. But anyway, let's do my reviews on this podcast for today. So like I said before, I'm about 5 days late, but I'm doing my review of the White Lotus Season 2. And a bit later on, I'll also be doing my review of the new big blockbuster out this Christmas in Avatar: The Way of Water, which I saw yesterday. But anyway, let's talk about the White Lotus. So, the White Lotus is a show I only watched the first time a couple of weeks ago. I watched the first season a couple of weeks ago because I saw that the second season was currently airing and I thought, you know what, I'm going to catch up this show and see what all the fuss is about because there's some really good things about it. It's HBO, they normally make some really good shows. And so, I sat down to watch the first series and it did have a bit of a slow start, but I really enjoyed that first season of The White Lotus by the end. It had some really clever writing. I loved the manager's storyline in the first series, and it was also quite funny. Some of the parts didn't work for me, and some of the episodes felt a bit like they didn't really go anywhere, but that first season of The White Lotus was really enjoyable. And then the second series started airing, I think about a couple of weeks ago now. Yeah, about a couple of weeks ago, 5 or 6 weeks ago, because the series only ended on Monday, last Monday. So, yeah, I'm about 5 or 6 days late on my review of this show, but I didn't have any time in the week to do my review of The White Lotus Season 2. But yeah, basically, if you don't know what The White Lotus is, essentially, it's a group of characters. You all go to this fancy resort called The White Lotus, a bunch of them around the world. And essentially, when they go to these resorts, it's all perfect at the start, everything's going well, I expect from a holiday, but then when all these different characters who are staying at the resort, kind of get interlocked in each other's lives, things go wrong and things often get quite dark. And each season has different characters. It's an anthology show. It's series 1 and series 2. Series 2 doesn't have the same characters as series 1, with the exception of one character though. Jennifer Coolidge is in both seasons of The White Lotus, but with the exception of her, all the characters are different from both series. So in series 1 you've got one set of characters, and in series 2 you have a different set of characters, with the exception of one character though. And like I said before, I really enjoyed series 1. So it's really disappointing to say how much I loved this series of The White Lotus though. I loved season 2 of The White Lotus. I'm not disappointed to say it, by the way. I'm just kind of playing a bit of a trick on you guys, and making you think I was going to give The White Lotus season 2 a bad review. Why would I give this season of TV a bad review? It's so much fun, but I was making you guys think I would. But in the end, I'm going to give this season of The White Lotus a great review because it was just so vastly entertaining. It was grittier than the first series. I liked the characters more. They didn't annoy me as much. In the first series, the characters annoyed me, but they were still fun to watch. But they still annoyed me, though. They every time they're on screen, they're like, oh, I don't like you. And you feel that same way in this series, The White Lotus. You watch some of the characters like, yeah, he's a bit of an idiot. But there's something about some of the characters in the series where it's just more fun to watch them though, and the performances are all great. Jennifer Coolidge, who won an Emmy for her performance in the first season of White Lotus, she's the only character in this series who was also in the first series, and her husband, by the way, but he's not really in this series as much. But she is incredible in this season of The White Lotus. I won't be surprised if she gets another Emmy for season 2 of The White Lotus. And also, there's some really funny storylines as well. Like these storylines between these two Italian prostitutes, which on the surface sounds like it could be quite grotesque and quite depressing as well. But actually it's really entertaining and it makes a lot of sense when you watch the show. And also, there's a storyline to do with these gay characters as well, which I thought was brilliant. Like at the start, when you first meet these gay characters, you think there's going to be these normal characters. You think there's going to be like, oh, they're just these normal people who've been quite nice to Jennifer Coolidge's character. Then you realise there's much more to them. And like Tom Holland was in there, not Tom Holland, Tom Hollander. Yes, no, there's no Spider-Man in this season, but still, yeah, he's great in there. And also, oh, what's his name? Oh, the one from Amadeus. I forgot his names now, but he's in there as Grandpa. What's his name? Oh, it's really bugging me. Sorry, I just completely forgot his name. But yeah, he's also this guy who plays the granddad. He's also in Amadeus. He's in this series. Don't know if it's making sense there. But also, so is Michael Imperioli, who I've only really seen as Christopher in The Sopranos. I remember he had a small part in Goodfellas as well, but he wasn't really in that film that much. But he was one of the main characters in Sopranos, and one of the best characters in my opinion. I loved Christopher in The Sopranos. I didn't like that character, you know, I didn't like his personality, but I loved watching that character. And I feel the same way about Michael Imperioli's role in this series of The White Lotus as well. In fact, he can even be seen as an extension of Christopher from The Sopranos, and the writing is better in the series as well. Like, the writing in this season of White Lotus is grittier, it's funnier, it's more exciting, it's more twisty as well. You don't really know where things are going. Each episode you sit down to watch and you think, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and then things completely different happen than what you expected, and that's brilliant. I love when a TV show keeps you guessing, and that's what White Lotus Season 2 did. It kept me guessing. The only thing I think was better in the first series of The White Lotus and the second series was the whole manager storyline. The manager storyline in series 2 is good, it's just not as good. I still liked where that storyline went, I thought it was actually quite funny, but this storyline with the manager in series 1 I thought was masterful. I thought it was the best part of series 1. Seeing where that went and seeing the end of that storyline as well, I thought was insanely clever. And you don't have that same sort of payoff in the manager storyline in this series. Again, it's still a good storyline. It's just not as good as the storyline with the manager in the first season of White Lotus. But other than that, I pretty much prefer this series of White Lotus overall. It's beautifully shot as well. Apparently went to Sicily and Italy and they filmed a lot of the series here, which is really quite something. It would have been nice for them to have like a holiday to Italy. Yeah, that would have been something. What is his name? Oh, it's really bugging me. So the granddad's name, he's also in Amadeus. I'm really, yeah. I'm just going to leave that now. I forgot the guy's name is, but he's great in the series as well. The granddad, if you've watched the season of The White Lotus. Is there anything else I forgot to mention? I also started to the husbands as well. Yeah, Theo James, or is it Theo James? Whatever his name is, Theo James, I'll call him that. Who I've only really seen in The Time Traveler's Wife, which is also an HBO show, which I didn't enjoy that much, but I enjoyed him in it to a degree. But he's really good in this show. I love how they kind of use his looks and to kind of deceive you as well. Yeah, the husband solid, great. Aubrey Plaza, who I only really know from Parks and Recreation, where she played April Ludgate, and she's really funny in that series, by the way. But she's fantastic in this season of White Lotus. And I don't know, there was just something about this series where I got into it more than the first series of The White Lotus. I really did, and I enjoyed watching it every single week. I sat down to watch it now, and yeah, it's vastly entertaining, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't checked it out already. And I really loved The White Lotus Season 2. I thought it was great. How many times am I going to say The White Lotus in my review of The White Lotus Series 2? Do a drinking game every time I say The White Lotus in this video. But no, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, definitely recommend it if you haven't checked it out already. It's on Now TV. It's also on HBO. So I'll put it on HBO Max if you're in America. We don't have HBO Max in this country, in the UK. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm going to say about a 9 out of 10 from me. If I was going to give a rating on this series, yeah, it'd be a 9 out of 10 for this one. But anyway, that's the end of my review of the White Lotus Series 2. I don't want to make it a long review because I really want to talk about the next thing I'm reviewing in this podcast today. But still, I do want to talk about the White Lotus because I've been watching it recently. And like I said before, it's a 9 out of 10 for me on the White Lotus Season 2. Go and check it out. It is wildly entertaining, and you'd be surprised by how much you enjoy it. I was. I'm even tempted to go back and rewatch it, which is a feeling I haven't really had with shows recently. You know, even shows I really enjoyed watching recently, like The Crown Series 5, I haven't felt like I wanted to go back and rewatch it. But I have with White Lotus. I only finished it a couple of days ago, so there you go. But anyway, let's get into my review of the newest big blockbuster right now. It's, how many years? 14 years in the making? I'm pretty sure it's the sequel to the biggest film of all time. I think it is still the biggest film of all time. I think it overtook Avengers Endgame. And that is Avatar: The Way of Water. So the plot, I'm not going to go too much in depth for it, but it follows... It's a direct continuation on from the first Avatar. And now we see that Jake Sully and his Avatar wife, it's like the Naimi. I don't know what the Avatars are called, but I'm just going to call them the Avatars in this review. But yeah, now see that Jake Sully and his Avatar wife, played by Zoe Saldana, and Sam Worthington's back as Jake Sully as well. They've now got an Avatar family. But then we also see, and this is not spoiled by the way, it's been revealed in the trailers, but we also see that the Colonel, the big bad guy from the first Avatar, is back and he wants his revenge. He wants to kill Jake Sully and Jake Sully's family. So basically, throughout the film, it's kind of like a hunting game. You have the Colonel, he's back and he's trying to get to Jake Sully. But at the same time, though, Jake Sully's trying to get away, and then they come into conflict with each other. At the end of having this big fight, it's all big fantastical again. There's a lot of avatars as well. And yeah, it's a James Cameron film, so it's quite long. So essentially the plot is quite similar to the first movie, except now there's like a new breed of avatars which live by the water, hence the name Avatar: The Way of Water. And also, you see a lot more of Jake Sully's kids in this film as well, and yeah, it's a bit different than the first Avatar, but not vastly different. It's pretty much what you expect this movie to be, and that's one of the worst plot synopses I've ever given on this channel. But anyway, yeah, and I've already said this before on this channel, but I'll just quickly say it again. I'm a fan of the first Avatar. I don't love it, but it's a James Cameron film, and I think it's really entertaining, and I don't think James Cameron has really made a bad movie. I don't think he, well, I'll talk about Avatar: The Way of Water in a sec, but up to the first Avatar, I don't think he'd really made a bad movie. I really enjoyed The Abyss. I think that's a massively underrated film. I really like Titanic. That film really gets me every time I watch it. Even though some people now think it's popular to hate on Titanic, I still think that movie is great. There's a reason it won 11 Oscars. But also, I'm a fan of the first two Terminator movies. I don't love them, but I do really enjoy them. Aliens, I think, is better than the original. Aliens is an amazing film, one of the best action movies ever made. True Lies, not James Cameron's best movie, but still really entertaining. And the first Avatar, again, I don't love it as much as some other people do. Some people think it should have won Best Picture back in 2009. I don't think it should have. I don't think it's Best Picture worthy, but I do think it is a wildly entertaining film. And yeah, I think it's got a really nice story about finding a new home in that film as well. I really like how I really like the storytelling in the first Avatar more than anything, and I love how it immerses you in the world of Pandora. So now, James Cameron hasn't made a movie since the first Avatar. Well, he hasn't made another fiction film. He's made some documentaries, but he hasn't made another, big fiction film since the first Avatar. And he's back now with Avatar: The Way of Water. And to be honest, I was surprised by how much I love this film. Again, I was trying to trick you. I was trying to make you think that I didn't love it to keep people watching. But no, I did absolutely. I was taken with it. And I was really surprised that I was. As for criticisms, I'm not going to go into depth on them, but I don't really have any main ones, other than the fact that it is a long film. It's like 3 hours, 15 minutes, and it didn't need to be that long. Like, there's a whole section in the middle between an avatar and a whale, and I love this whale storyline, by the way, and I'll get onto that a bit later. But there's a whole section in the middle where you see this avatar bonding with a whale, and you want to go, yeah, I get the point, I get it, but then the storyline goes on for 20 minutes, and it's like, that whole scene was just him bonding together, it just goes on and on and on. I'm like, okay, I get the point, he can get along with the whale, no other avatars can get along with the whale, but this avatar can. But it just went on a bit much, that part of the movie, and some of the bits in the middle feel a bit rocky. It feels like James Cameron made a much longer film, which I don't want to see, by the way, but it felt like James Cameron made a much longer movie, and that he had to cut it to make it fit under 3 hours, even though the film's 3 hours and a quarter. You get what I'm trying to say, though. It felt like he made a much longer film, and then he had to chop it up, because in some sections when it's like, okay, we're here, although we're jumping here, it's the night now, okay, we're jumping back here today. There's some parts like that in the middle. And also, I wasn't too sold on what they did with Sigourney Weaver's character's movie. I didn't dislike it, I just wasn't too into it as much as I wanted to be. And again, I won't go into spoil what they do with that character, but Sigourney Weaver's character in the first Avatar, who dies in the first Avatar, she's kind of back in this movie. And they don't bring that character back, but they kind of do something with Sigourney Weaver's character that I just wasn't as into as I wanted to be. And also, the experience wasn't as immersive as I hoped it to be. And that's not a fault of the film, though. So it's not a criticism of the movie. It's a fault of my cinema experience once again. I go to the cinema, which is not the best place, to be honest. So I was sitting there and I was watching it with my brother. We had these great seats, and then these two people came and sat in front of us and thought, okay, that's fine, whatever, I don't really care. But then this one person who sat in front of us got their phone out for quite a lot of the movie, and they had it on a quite high brightness as well. And there's even one point where some person from a couple of rows, behind me, because I was actually sitting quite I was sitting in the middle, like in sort of the middle of the cinema. Somebody a couple rows behind me came down and told this person, "Can you put off your phone?" So it clearly wasn't distracting me, but he didn't put away his phone. And he kept it on in certain parts of the film, and that really disrupted, I can't pronounce the word, that really disrupted my immersion in this movie. So, I need to see it again to see if it's one of my favourite films of 2022, because I can't really say that for now. Because a lot of the cinema experience was very overwhelming, though, in a good way. But at the same time, though, I need to watch it again, so hopefully I won't have another distraction like that when I do see it. And I'm planning to see it in the next couple of days. Hopefully I will. Hopefully the snow clears and I will get to go out to the cinema to see the movie with my mates, which I'm planning to do on the 19th. Maybe I'll talk about it again on the channel. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But still, yeah, I wish I had a better cinema experience. I'm not going to complain about the cinema experience load like I did in my review of See How They Run. See How They Run. So I just think about the Lady Madonna song every single time I say that film name. But at the same time, though, I did want to say that my personal cinema experience wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But I think that was just because of somebody on the phone literally right in front of me, which was just really frustrating. But apart from all that, I had a really good time with this movie, though. And I actually think it's better than the first Avatar, because this film is about family, and it's got a more human story. Even so there's less human characters in this Avatar than in the first Avatar. There's still some human characters in there, but there's less human characters. The story itself felt more human, it felt more emotional, and the ending really got me. I won't give away what happened, though, but the very final scene, I was almost in tears. I really didn't expect that, though. Like, the very final scene, I was like, wow, that was powerful. And the story's more human, like I said. It's a story you can relate to. It's a story about family. It's a story about sticking together. And it's a story about new homes, much like the first film. But it's also a story about familial relationships. It's a story about new families and found families and all that sort of stuff. It's just a story about family, and that's why it worked. At the risk of sounding too much like Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious. It's a story about family, though, and when I was watching it, that was a part which really resonated with me. I was like, wow, I can't believe how much this is working for me, because I was never the biggest fan of the first Avatar. I should say, actually, I think I was back in primary school when the first Avatar came out, and now I'm in my last year of uni. Sorry, I just realised that. God, life flies by sometimes, doesn't it? Wow. But yeah, I was never the biggest fan of the first Avatar. I remember watching it when I was young, and my brothers had it on, and I remember really enjoying it, but never really getting too much into it. But this one, I was taken with it. The 3D experience was actually pretty great as well. I haven't gone to watch a film in 3D since, from what I can remember, 2013, when I went to go and watch the second Hobbit film, The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug. And I should say, I don't care what anyone says, I love the Hobbit movies, even the third one. But that time when I watched the second Hobbit movie, I got a bit of a headache towards the end because I was watching it in 3D. And so, I'm not the biggest on 3D as a whole. I've seen some other movies in 3D. I remember watching the third Transformers movie, can't speak, the third Transformers movie in 3D with a couple of my mates and despising that. I remember going watching Pirates of the Caribbean 4, on Stranger's Tide in 3D and having a huge headache halfway through the movie, and that headache didn't go away, and I don't think that was because of the 3D experience though. But yeah, I'm not the biggest on the whole idea of 3D. But I will say, like I've already said already, the 3D in this movie was pretty damn good. It was probably the best 3D I've ever experienced. There's a couple of moments when I was a bit fuzzy, and I think that's because I kept getting distracted by someone on the phone screen. But still, nonetheless, though, I was taken by the 3D, though, and I really didn't expect that. I was like, okay, I put on my 3D glasses when I got into the cinema, and I was watching the projection, I was watching the trailers in 3D. Barbie got the first Barbie trailer in my cinema. I didn't get the Oppenheimer trailer or the new Mission Impossible trailer, annoyingly, but I did get the Barbie trailer, which looked very unusual. But back onto Avatar, I sat there in the cinema, put my 3D glasses up, and I'm like, okay, 3 hours of this, let's see how it goes. Over 3 hours of this, should I say? And it never bothered me though. In fact, the 3D made the whole film more immersive. In fact, if I didn't have 3D, I don't think I'd be as immersed in the film as I was. There's a scene in the movie when it's raining, and this is not spoil anything, I'm not doing any spoilers in the movie, by the way, but there's a scene in the movie when it's raining, and you almost feel like it's raining in the cinema because of the 3D. You almost want to wipe the raindrops off your 3D glasses. It's that immersive. And again, I've never really liked 3D that much. I've seen it with a couple of movies, first 2 Hobbit films I saw in 3D. I saw Transformers 3 and 4 in 3D, and I never really liked that. I saw Pirates of the Caribbean 4 in 3D, you get the point. I've seen some films in 3D, and it really wasn't for me. But I remember but I saw this one in 3D though, and actually I was really surprised by how much the 3D worked for me. And I just wanted to spend a bit of time talking about that, by the way, because I was really hesitant about watching this movie in 3D. My local cinema just has all the showings for the new Avatar in 3D, and so I was a bit like, okay, here we go, right, I've put up with it for over 3 hours, easy said and done. But actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up, the 3D experience. That is not something I expected me to say. But anyway, continuing on some other stuff in the film, I've heard some people complain about the story of this movie, saying it's quite similar to the story of the first film, and I can see where they're coming from, by the way. But that criticism kind of annoys me a little bit, because the story in every single spy film is the same when you think about it. The story in every single superhero film is the same when you think about it. The story in every single murder mystery film is the same when you talk about it. Sometimes the narratives will be a bit different, the plots will be a bit different, but the story, the general story of all these different genre movies is the same quite all the time. The story on quite a lot of epics is the same. The overall story of Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit movies, films I adore, by the way, the overall story of the Star Wars movies, they're all just the same when you really think about it. But at the same time, they're still going to hear a big truck outside. I'm going to try and speak quite loudly, but at the same time, though, the story might be the same, but it's how you tell that story, it's the execution. And actually, I think the execution of this Avatar movie, even though it had quite a similar story to the first Avatar film, the execution, the filmmaking, the storytelling, I just thought was more captivating and more compelling. And I really liked that about it. And I don't know what it was. I was just not taken by this Avatar film that I really expected to. And I'm really happy I was, because some of the critics in the UK, which I admire, some film critics in the UK, which I really admire and I watch daily, they really didn't like this movie. And so I went into watching it thinking, oh God, am I going to have the same experience? But no, I came out of the film and I was like, you know what? That was pretty good. And the reason I came out of the film thinking that, by the way, was not only because of the emotional experience, but also because the last hour of the film is riveting, it's exciting, it's heart-pounding, and you literally sit there like, I don't know where this is going, but I can't wait to see it. And there's something which happens halfway through the film, much like the first Avatar. In the first Avatar we see all these guns and all of the humans blowing up Pandora. Something kind of similar happens in this movie about halfway through. Again, it's a very similar story, but that didn't really bother me, because actually I think the thing halfway through this film was more effective. And so something happens halfway through the movie, and it makes you want to hate the villains so much. Like, you want to see those villains die as soon as they do that horrible thing halfway through the film. And so the last hour and a half is heart-pounding. You're constantly on the edge of your seat. You're smiling from ear to ear in moments as well. Particularly with the whale. Now, if you've seen the film, you know exactly what storyline I'm talking about. But there's a whale storyline. I'm not going to go into details of what happens, but there's a whale storyline, which I think is one of the best things I've seen on cinema in the past couple of years. That's not even a hyperbole or an over-exaggeration, whatever. I actually think it's one of the best things I've seen on film, like, for a long time. It was so entertaining. Even though I had my problems with, like, the whale interacting with the avatar that it made friends with for the first time, because that scene went on forever. Even so I had my problem with that interaction between the big whale and the avatar. The whale storyline, so entertaining. And there was actually one moment where you want to stand up and cheer because of what the whale does. Again, not going into spoilers, but if you've seen the film, you'll probably know exactly what moment I'm talking about. And also, it's epic, and you feel that visually. It's gorgeous. You feel like you can actually touch the scenery. You feel like you're under the water, you know, the underwater stuff. And hearing about how they've done all the underwater stuff, by the way, is quite amazing. And it really pays off, in my opinion. I really was astounded by some of the underwater stuff, and I don't know how you even approach to making a movie like this, but only James Cameron really can. And also, the film is about environmental issues. It's about global warming. It's about, it's about what we're doing to our planet. It's about, it's about climate change. And that message really comes through in this film. I mean, the first film is about that, and James Cameron is a big advocate for, stopping climate change and stopping global warming and things like that. He's very much about saving the oceans. And, it's okay to say that, it's okay to protest about it, and some people just completely undermine you. But what James Cameron does so cleverly in this film is he encodes it, he incorporates it into the plot of this movie. He incorporates it into the plot of the sequel to the biggest film of all time, so it makes you realise how bad global warming actually is, and how bad climate change is and stuff like that. And you really feel that in this movie, though. You really feel that. You really feel like you come out of the movie and go, yeah, we need to start saving some animals. And I think James Cameron did that really cleverly, because if you just said that out loud on the Avatar 2 press tour, I think environmental issues need to be assessed and need to be more, people need to be more aware of what's going on in the world. I think if we just said that during the press tour, it wouldn't have the same effect. But because he encodes all these messages and meanings into this film, into Avatar: The Way of Water, you really feel like he's telling you in this film, how bad some of these environmental issues are getting, and it's not patronising, and it's not like he's talking down to you about it. He's just literally showing you how bad it gets, and I really like that about it. The fact that it's got these really, important contemporary messages in there, which, I was surprised. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I was surprised by how much that story with all the environmental stuff affects me in this film. But also on the topic of James Cameron, this film is a bit of James Cameron's greatest hits. You've got a bit of the first few Terminator films in there. You've got a tiny bit of True Lies in there. But you've also got a lot of The Abyss. A lot of this film takes place underwater. And The Abyss, about 3/4 of The Abyss takes place underwater. Well, again, The Abyss, if you haven't seen it, is a vastly underrated film. One of my favourite James Cameron films. Up there with Aliens and Titanic as well. But yeah, The Abyss is great. But there are large sections of this film where it does kind of feel like James Cameron rewatched his film The Abyss and went, okay, just copy and paste that into my movie, please. There's this fish in this movie that Sigourney Weaver's character gets quite attached to towards the end. Again, hopefully you know what fish I'm talking about if you've seen the film. But it literally looks like they took... It literally looks like the exact same, alien sort of fish from The Abyss. And also, there's a bit of Titanic in there. This is not a spoiler, it's in the trailers. But there's a ship that sinks in the movie, and it's literally like Titanic. And there's a bit of Aliens in there. And Aliens is, like I said before, my favourite action movie of all time. So I was watching that going, or one of my favourite action movies of all time anyway. I was watching that going, wow, oh yes, I'm really liking this. Bit of Aliens feel in there, because I'm a big fan of Aliens. I think it's better than the original. And I loved it about it. And I know some people have been criticising the fact that it's a bit of James Cameron's greatest hits, you know, there's a bit of all these movies in there, saying it's a bit unoriginal. But I disagree. I actually kind of like the fact that there's a bit of James Cameron's greatest hits, because we haven't had a James Cameron film in, like I said before, 14 years since the first Avatar. And this Avatar film shares a lot with the first Avatar, though. Again, reinforcing that whole idea that it's James Cameron's greatest hits. But at the same time, no, that worked for me. And I get it, everyone says. There was moments in the film I was like, oh, that's a bit like Terminator, that's a bit like True Lies, that's a bit like The Abyss, that's a bit like Aliens, that's a bit like Titanic, and that's a bit like the first Avatar. But you know what, though? I was really going along with all of that. And I didn't expect to say that. And also the musical score was by Simon Fangle or something like that. I think he did a great job, considering it's not James Horner anymore, because James Horner sadly passed away, I think in 2015 or 2016. And James Horner did the score of the first Avatar with this tremendous score, by the way. I still listen to that Pandora theme every now and then. But yeah, it's not James Horner anymore, sadly, but I do feel that the person who came into the composer, and again I think it's Simon Fangle, I might be getting their name, I'm going to apologise if I am, but he did a really phenomenal job. You'll be able to tell it's not James Horner if you didn't know. And like I said before, visually it's gorgeous, it's a visual feast. It's just, you come out of the movie and go, how did he do that? Just how? And I understand there's some people who just don't buy into the Avatar world. They just don't like it, they don't care about it, and that's completely understandable. I understand that fantasy and sci-fi isn't for everyone. But you know what? It's for me. Clearly, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've got a huge Baby Yoda pop there. I don't even know if you can even see that. But you get the point I'm making. I've got a BB-8 cuddly toy back there. And also, by the way, quickly on the topic of Star Wars, there's one part of the film which reminded me of the train heist in Solo, which again I actually quite liked, because although I dislike Solo, it's my least favourite Star Wars movie ever, to be honest, I actually quite enjoy the train heist in that movie. So yeah, I was actually a bit surprised about that, because I know James Cameron hasn't been the biggest on Disney Star Wars films, or at least The Force Awakens anyway, but I kind of enjoyed that, I'm not going to lie. And this movie's got a lot of other bits and pieces in there from other stuff as well. It's not just James Cameron's greatest hits. He copies a lot of other movies in this film as well. But I really, really liked it. I loved it, in fact. I need to see it again to, you know, really determine whether it's one of my favourite films of 2022. And I am seeing it again. Well, fingers crossed if the snow starts clearing up to see it again. But still, nonetheless, like I said before, Avatar: The Way of Water is better than the original in my opinion. And I'm a fan of the original, I am. I just don't think it's good as some people say, but I'm a fan of the original. But I think this one's better because it's more of a human story, it's more emotional, it's riveting, it's constantly moving as well, except for that one thing with the bloody whale and the Avatar meeting, which went on for about 20 minutes. It's constantly moving, and I really, really went along with it. I really didn't expect to, and I came out of the movie with a huge grin. And maybe it's because I'm Christmassy, and maybe because I'm in a good mood now because I finished my uni work for a bit of a break. But I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed Avatar 2. I really enjoyed Avatar: The Way of Water. It's a visual feast, it's emotional, and it's another fantastic James Cameron sequel. And so, all in all, I'm gonna say that Avatar: The Way of Water, I'm gonna say it's around 8.5 out of 10. I need to see it again to really solidify my opinion on this film as a whole, because my experience was disrupted. Although one thing I haven't said yet, or I might have said but I can't remember, was the film did feel like an experience though. You feel like you're actually watching, you know, Pandora expand throughout the film. It's 3 hours and a quarter, and it feels like you're just in this experience. So it just feels like experiencing this movie. It never feels like a film, at least it didn't to me. And, you know, I said that halfway through the film, I just think to myself, this has been going on for quite a long time, because it is a long film, and you do feel the length of the movie. But you know what? I'm just loving the experience of it, you know, and I really didn't expect that. And also, a couple of things I forgot to mention. There's one bit towards the beginning of the film which was just a bit weird in my opinion. You see Jake Sully and his Avatar family take a family photo, like most people do on like Christmas cards and things like that. And I was kind of like, huh. weird. You don't even see the digital camera they take the photo with. That wasn't a big issue, just a small nitpick. And there's a lot of nitpicks in there. Some of the dialogue isn't the best written. The story, like I said, isn't too unique, although that's not a big criticism in my opinion. And I would have liked to see a couple more of the characters from the first Avatar come back. We do see most of the characters from the first Avatar come back. But I'm talking about the characters that survived as well. Like Giovanni Ribisi's character, he's in there, kind of cameo role in this movie. But I just would like to see a bit more of him. And also the scientist with frizzy hair from the first Avatar. Again, he's back. Don't really get to see lots of him though. Jake Scully's friend friend who becomes an Avatar as well from the first movie. Again, he's back, but we just don't get to see lots of him. And I just would have liked in a bit more of them back in this film. I know there's another sequel, so I dare say they're going to be in it a bit more coming forward. Maybe Giovanni Ribisi's character is a big player, has a big part in the third Avatar film. I don't know. But I just would have liked to see a bit more of them. Also, there's this human character called Spider who's quite close to the Avatar in the film. He's quite close to the Avatars in the film. And I've heard some people complain about his character. I didn't mind him. I actually thought he kind of worked. And I thought he added something different to the movie. And I liked that character's characterization. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. Hopefully you will. Also, going back on Sopranos a sec, going back to my White Lotus review, linking both reviews together in this podcast, the one who plays Carmela, Tony Soprano's husband, is also in the film as well. And I haven't seen her in anything else over The Sopranos. So again, that was kind of nice to see. And also, Jermaine Clements, one half of Flight the Conchords, is in this film. And I didn't recognise it was him until about his fifth scene. I was like, oh, Jermaine Clements, one half of bloody Flight the Conchords, and also the person who, was a co-director and co-writer and what was doing the Shadows film. I was like, wow. Didn't expect to see him in there. But, like I said before, there's some other bits I just wanted to mention there, but like I said before, it is great in my opinion, and I do think it's another great James Cameron sequel. Just clearing up what I'm saying there, is that James Cameron, I don't know if people notice, has made some pretty damn fantastic sequels in the past. Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Aliens. And although I don't love Terminator 2, I need to watch it again really, although I don't love Terminator 2 Judgment Day, I do think it's better than the first Terminator. Both films he died, by the way. And I think Aliens are better than the first Alien. I've already given my reasons why on the channel in the past, a couple of months ago. But yes, it's another great James Cameron sequel. He doesn't really make a bad film still. Avatar 2 is another example of that. I think it's going to make buckets of money because it's a film about family and it's come out around Christmas. And what's the best time to watch a film about family? Christmas. So I do think it's going to make loads of money. It's family friendly, but it's also got some great action in there. I'm sure it's a bit overlong. But for me, I had a great time with it, and I was really taken by it, and I really loved the 3D experience as well, which is something I really didn't expect to say. But I'm really happy that I did. And so, all in all, like I said before, Avatar: The Way of Water delivers, in my opinion, on a fantastic, heart-pounding sequel that's constantly moving, and has a lot of emotion in there, and has a more human story than you might expect. And, yeah. I was just completely taken by it. And so, all in all, like I said before, I've said all in all twice now, but all in all, like I said before, I'm going to say it a third time, I'm going to say that Avatar: The Way of Water, I'm going to say that it's an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, thank you as always watching or listening, wherever you're listening or watching the podcast on. Yeah, that's it. So I guess I'm going to be rounding up now. Please let me know what you think of my views in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of Avatar: The Way of Water in the comment section below. And also, if you've seen it, let me know what you think of the White Lotus Season 2 in the comment section below. And also, if you have any ideas for any future podcasts on this channel, please let me know in the comment section below. How many times am I going to say in the comment section below in this podcast? But no, yes, thank you as always for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the podcast. And also look forward to many more podcasts coming in the future. And also, hopefully, some film reviews coming as well in the next couple of days, if everything goes accordingly. Thank you as always for watching, and I suppose I'll see you guys again soon. But, bye for now. Bye.